Alright, in this video, let's talk about the table object. Remember that this is a database. A database is a container for objects, and the most important is the table, because without the table, well, a database would be vaporware. So how do we create a table the easy way? Well, we right-click on tables, and we say New Table. It doesn't get any easier than that for us. All right, and we click, and we open it up, and it says, what's the name of your column? What's the data type? And do you want to allow nulls? All right, so I'm going to throw a lot of information at you. And if this is brand new, that's okay. You're not expected to absorb this on the first try. All right? So the column name is a simple one. What are we going to name the column? So let's call this table sales. Let's make this the sales table. And let's create a surrogate key. New word. So what is a surrogate key? Well, there are two types of keys in relational databases. There is a surrogate key, and there are natural keys. So the surrogate key has no business relevancy. This ID isn't tied to anything within the data we're going to insert into the table. Right? So what would be an example of a natural key then? Well, how about a social security number? Right? If we were only selling to people in the United States, everyone born in the United States must have a social security number, and we could use, if we wanted to, the social security as a natural key. Now, you can do this. However, in general, the practice is to create surrogate keys, and most of the databases you will come upon in the real world use surrogate keys. Right, so this surrogate key has no meaning to the rest of the data, the business data we're going to store in this table. All right, so we've got our column name, and we've said we're going to call it sales ID. And the data type. We're going to talk about data types in a few minutes, but if we click over here beside the data type, what we're going to see is a whole bunch of data types. Remember when we said that SQL Server stores structured data, and an Excel file or a Word document that's sitting out on a file share would be an example of an unstructured file. Well, here, this is called structured data because we are giving it the structure. We are saying in this column, this surrogate key that I'm defining on this sales table, I want you to store only numeric. So we're going to create big ints for our initial approach here. Let's just say that the data type allows us to store specific kind of structured data. And here, integer, notice, so what is a big int? So you're saying, well, what is that? What's it mean? So big, right? Big. It's going to be a big number, right? Integer, number, all right? So it's a big integer. That is pretty straightforward. And yes, if you're thinking, well, why did you use big int? Why not just use an int? Is there such a thing? Yes, there is. There is just an integer, right? And there are ranges that the big int and the int can store. And that's why there is an integer and a big integer. Again, not important now. We're getting the basics down. All right, so here we say allow nulls, right? And when we define our primary key, let's remove it, all right, we can allow nulls. Well, first, what's a null? Now, a null value, or null, is different from zero, blank, or zero-length character string, such as a bunch of strings. Null basically means no entry has been made. The presence of a null typically implies that the value is either unknown or undefined. Now, the one caveat is that keys, primary keys, which we're going to define now on this table, don't allow nulls, so we've got to remove that. So we said before that tables are related through keys, basically through the concept of a primary key in the parent table that is connected to a foreign key in another table. All right, so we've defined on this column our sales ID. We've given our column a name. We've said we're going to store a special kind of data in that column, and it's going to be numeric and integer. And we said we're not going to allow nulls.